Well, the critical consensus for this particular movie was that it really fucking blows. So we had to find out for ourselves, not just because of that, but because we're Ghostbustites. Even though the Ghostbusters franchise has been a little rocky at times, we're sticking around, guy. So we just saw it, and we're here to say what's up. I'm gonna start with you, guy. Because you're generally the guy that digs his heels in and crosses his arms and goes, I don't like anything. So I'm gonna see. And by the way, your reaction to the previous film was a lot more negative than my reaction to it, which was a lot more positive. So I'm just saying, I just want to know.
Though we had the same score.
Well, yeah, we never released that video, so it's meaningless to the viewing audience.
I'm just saying we had the same score.
That means nothing.
Means a lot.
No, it just means that you were super negative about it comparatively. No. So I want to know what's up. Did you retain that notion?
So there's kind of a multi-side to this.
Okay.
That being said, I'm going to say I liked it more than Afterlife.
Okay.
Like a lot more than Afterlife.
See, that's what I see, that little glare of evil roared out.
Afterlife was so freaking mid, guy. It was the middest movie I've ever seen in my life. Papa,
you're just proving what I said.
No, I'm just saying it was mad mid.
Don't linger on that. We're talking about this new movie, guys.
I just said I liked it more in Afterlife, like way more in Afterlife.
That's all you gotta say?
That being said, there is some stuff I thoroughly disliked.
Thoroughly disliked?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But my reaction to it is that I think this is the best Ghostbusters sequel so far in the
I agree,
timeline of the original Ghostbusters. Yeah, man. I mean, really, having read a lot of those reviews, unlike Al, by the way, I could tell you that. Oh, he read them. He read hardcore read those boys, guy.
Not even funny how much he read those.
He read them hard. But anyway, having read a lot of reviews, I can tell you that I see some of the points. Don't get me wrong, but largely, man, they really went fucking hard on this thing for no good reason. Really, in my opinion. Though some of the points that they bring up are valid points, at the end of the day, this is a thoroughly entertaining movie.
I think that even the things I dislike don't really break the movie for me, so it's just kind of like things I dislike, which I think every movie has.
Yeah, obviously. So, I would agree with that with anything that I find to be a negative thing in this, which are very few things. But let's talk about it. Well, let's start with you, since you're Negative Nancy, I think your name is.
I kind of dislike Camille.
Nanjiani?
Yeah, I disliked him, guy.
I like him, guy.
I thought he was pretty annoying. Sadly,
I just like the guy, So
I kind of started disliking him after Eternals, guy.
Why? Because he got fit?
Yeah.
You're a guy renowned for hating anybody that gets fit all of a sudden.
He got fit, and then he started being in dog shit movies. And then now he's not in a dog shit movie, but he's annoying. And I'm like, come on, guy. And I want to like you. You were that orc. No. You were that orc in Middle Earth.
You decided he got fit, and you started your hater arc. That's the thing that's been established. You hate Jonah Hill because he's
Jonah Hill became a whack as hell.
You're on a totally different wavelength. But whatever. Besides him and your obvious hate of his fitness. What else?
I just thought he was kind of tonally. Let me finish.
Why?
I just felt he didn't fit tonally with the movie, which was a lot less goofy, and so they threw this goofy character in, and he didn't fit. That being said, I also kind of disliked the Ghost Girl plot line. I was kind of like, could have done without that. Hated Pukey. But those little things that didn't break the thing.
Is that it?
Hated Pukey, guy.
Hated Pukey?
I hated him with a passion.
Nothing wrong with him.
I also think some of the humor was kind of whack. Thankfully, there's not a lot of it.
Well, that's where I come in because, and this is not a slide against the movie, but traditionally Ghostbusters is imbued with humor. This is a pretty unfunny movie, and now that's not necessarily a problem. I didn't think that was a problem in Afterlife because they weren't the attempts that they made at humor hit better in Afterlife than the ones they do here. The ones here is just kind of like, well, that's not funny.
I agree.
That being said, old Nanjiani there, Kumal, that is, I enjoyed him because he was so overtly goofy that the contrast to the seriously unfunny attempts at humor here, it just kind of was like, okay, well, at least we have something that's clearly supposed to be stupidly funny. But whatever. That's just a taste thing. But yeah, it's not a particularly funny movie. And moreover, on that same note, it's not a very scary movie. You know, say what you will about Ghostbusters 2, but it has a particular vibe that, you know, still has kind of like a creepy aura. You know what I'm saying? Afterlife carries some of that weird little aura too. And this one, it's not really, it doesn't have that. Now, that's not to say that that's bad. It just doesn't have that. And given, you know, that this is a Ghostbusters movie, you'd expect at least a little bit of that. So I don't even count it as negative. I'm just saying that's a thing worthy of note. Now, here's something that I guess I could put in the negative column, and that's that. And this was a complaint with Afterlife that I didn't really give a shit about then, except for when the Ghostbusters came in, that ass end out of fucking nowhere, and you're like, wow, that was convenient. But a lot of critics bitched about a dependency on nostalgia. This one has that for real. Like, you can't even deny it in this one. And sometimes it works. And sometimes it's like super shoehorned. Not in a destructive way, but it's like shoehorned in there. Like The Librarian.
Yeah,
was that necessary? That was not necessary at all. Cool to see her, sure, but
I think there's a lot of stuff that's super unnecessary, like the Slimer thing too. He's just kind of there.
Thing, yeah, it's basically there just for a visual gag at the climax.
The thing about it is that they're not like annoying.
They're not.
They're not like.
But it's still it's noticeable.
But it doesn't like. To me, it didn't freaking bother me.
Well, it didn't me either. I'm just saying it is. Like, if somebody's gonna complain about that, I get it. Like, especially if you're not into Ghostbusters as much as like an Al or something, you'd be like, all right, I get it, guy. We're in a Ghostbusters movie, like that kind of thing. Like Peter, I think he shouldn't have even been in this. He's pretty much just there for like giving your butthole a little tickle of excitement if you're a fan, and I'm a fan. I'm just saying, like, viewing it, I was like, was he even really necessary in it? Is it nice for him to be there? Sure, but you know, so you could say that critique is kind of valid, noticeably valid in this movie. That being said, it doesn't make this movie any less entertaining or anything like that. So that's cool. But what else, guy? What do you got? Any more negatives? First of all, I gotta bring this up in case you have more negative. Don't have any more. The mini puffs.
They gotta go, dude. I hate them.
That is also an element that didn't need to be in there.
Yes.
Shoehorned. 1, 2. They're literally manifestations of Gozer, which has been taken out of the picture. Now, theoretically, you could say that Gozer is a fucking god, and maybe you didn't permanently exterminate it. For sure, in the pre-afterlife timeline, we know that it's going to revisit Earth again. But still,
yeah, they gotta go.
It's clearly a marketing thing, and it's just like, stop.
Every time,
and they're useless in the movie.
Every time they showed up, it was pointless.
Yeah, super
lame.
Pointless.
I think that's my biggest hate for the movies. The mini puffs. It's like, can we not use them anymore?
I don't hate them. I just don't care that they're there. You know, and they don't make sense.
I actively hate them.
You hate? See, this is a little.
No, they act. I think that they actively make everything worse. Thus, I hate them.
They didn't do enough to make anything worse. They were just there uselessly.
Yeah, they wasted time. Thus, freaking made things worse for me. Hate them.
Now, I will say that I disagree with.
I also think they're not even cute. They suck. They're not cute visually.
To me,
sucky.
But whatever. My major problem with it is they shouldn't even be there.
Hate them.
Literally, story-wise, they shouldn't even be there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I will disagree with you. From my point of view, the Ghost Girl thing actually was kind of like pivotal, because at the core of this story is Phoebe, which I think is the right move, and I hope they continue that. Clearly, Phoebe is the heart of this new, era of Ghostbuster stuff, and this Ghost Girl story was a parallel that mirrored her state of being, in the movie, without spoiling anything. But anyway, so that was pivotal. I had read a review where they were like extremely critical of her existence, pointing out that she felt like out of place in time as a ghost and stuff. But I mean, sure, for this ghost having been from a previous century, I see no problem with that. But I think they complemented Phoebe's storyline pretty well. So I didn't hate that at all. Because I do think that Phoebe is the most important driving force. And she's definitely the strongest character. Now, there was talk in a lot of reviews, and I know you noticed this too, that it was kind of muddled with too many plots and subplots. Thoughts on that?
I think there is a lot of plots, but it doesn't really muddle anything. It's just like you could ignore, like the Slimer subplot is just like there, but it doesn't. It's not so heavy that it, takes away from other stuff. Mm-hmm. They're just kind of, there is subplots, but they're kind of like, you could be like whatever, or they're just like not big enough. There's not too many lanes basically. I think.
Yeah. Some of the reviews said that the use of the word muddled, they used it in a sense to say that it just confused.
Yeah, super not confusing.
I don't understand. I can't be that these critics think that everybody's dumb and will be confused because they're the ones watching it. Mm-hmm. So if they're confused, then they're the dumb ones. So it's not a confusing movie at all. But yeah, there are extraneous plot lines that theoretically could take out and it would not affect the movie. Like you said, for example, the little Slimer deal there. You could have condensed stuff in a lot of ways. Like Patton Oswalt's character. They made a big hullabaloo about him being in it, and he's literally just like a minor supporting character. Theoretically, if you're script writing this character, his entire action could have been done by, say, like Ray.
Yeah,
and that would have been fine, but he's perfectly fine in the movie. In fact, his scene is pretty cool.
The Peck thing's kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that, from a screenwriting perspective, you could see like these events or characters could be condensed into, or these actions could be given to other characters. So I get it if you're into like film that hard that you begin to examine things from a screenwriting perspective. I get that it would maybe bother you, but the majority of the audience doesn't view films like that. And even people like I'm super into that stuff. I don't view it like that until after and then I can examine it that way. So it takes a very specific person to be bothered by that. And
that's what I meant by like there's a lot of stuff, but it doesn't really take away from it. It's just like there.
Yeah.
Like you could choose to be like, I don't really care for the Walter Peck stuff, which I didn't. Also, it seemed like they cut something out at the end. I don't know if you noticed that he goes from this to like suddenly, and there's like a very noticeable like change in the scene too. That was weird. But yeah, it's just like kind of weird. Like that was very much in there just to bring a character back.
Mm-hmm. And I will say that like they probably feel obligated to return some characters. Like it's okay to not bring podcast back.
Yeah.
I don't hate the guy. I'm just saying, like, it's okay. You could reduce the amount of people in the movie. You didn't really contribute too much, to it, or lucky or whatever. At the same time, it's fine to have them in the background. So it's not like even like a win-lose. It's just like, okay, fine. That's an option, and they went with it. It's fine. You know what I'm saying? I will say that a lot of questions are brought up about why these kids are just in fucking New York without their parents.
I think that's why I was like, why would you bring all of them back? Just bring two of them back. That makes sense.
But anyway, like we're saying, a lot of this stuff is super unproblematic. I will say that the movie moves at an incredibly quick pace and not in a bad way. There's a way where you could just overstuff stuff and then you're like, all right, this is moving too fast because there's too much stuff. This one, I think it finds a nice balance, man. Next thing you know, we just were like 20 minutes away from the end. I had to go pee. Happened to check the time. I was like, wow, we just got the last act, Okay, that's cool. So it sets up stuff pretty fucking well. It's, keeps you interested. So I was very pleased with that. And in terms of continuing what established, Ghostbusters mythos, that's cool. In terms of adding stuff that's interesting, details that are interesting to this universe, I found that super cool. Apparently, though, Pukey was a particular.
I hated him, man. I didn't actually hate him. It's just he's visually sucky.
Yeah, I'll grant you that. He does look like he belongs in a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark book, though. But anyway. I think the movie did a pretty good job at all that.
I also liked like the new guy they added in. He's kind of entertaining. The new, I guess, Ghostbuster type. You know, like a research guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's stuff that they added in that's actually cool.
Yeah. Now,
I also feel like it doesn't feel weirdly like cut like Afterlife did for me. Like it actually feels like it's continuing along properly. You know what I mean? That was a problem I had with Afterlife.
I don't have a problem with that because it's supposed to be like this movie that bridges a certain amount of time. But this one's more like we're going from
like
A
it
to
actually,
Z.
yeah, it actually like there's scenes in Afterlife where you're like that obviously something was cut out there, okay? Like super obvious, and it bothered me as a student of film.
I still feel like you gotta rewatch this movie.
Nah, homie, it was dog.
Weirdly good. Now it's dog? I thought you were like okay with it.
I'm fine with it existing. It's just I think it was super uncool.
Man, you went from like over here to here in your claims.
Nah, I still give it a 6. I just think it's super or a 7. I just think it's super freaking
dog
unessential.
Since when
man.
do dog movies get a 7?
I hated Paul Rudd in Afterlife. Really liked him in this one.
Here's the thing about Afterlife. It's a bridge movie, right? Which I think is necessary if you're gonna have a bunch of old fucks on their way out, and you got to bring a new a crop of people in. And I'm glad to see that they focused mostly on that new crop of people. And here's the thing that, validates the critics that are like, they're still too hung up on the past. And, I mean, it's a Ghostbusters movie based off a fucking old movie. You gotta still acknowledge that to some degree. But I will agree that in the ways we mentioned previously, there are some elements that are like a bit extraneous, that do feel like, all right, you're just putting too much of that, hey, remember that type of thing in there. And again, doesn't hinder the movie in terms of enjoyment. But you literally created, especially with Phoebe, a crop of characters that people like, that fans like, really do focus on them. You could still have these guys in the background. They don't need to be super integral to the plot. So like again, going back to my opinion on Peter, I think like he's super unintegral to the movie. So, if you know that guy doesn't even really want to do these things, you could have just moved on from him. Winston, I think he's perfectly used in this. It's a good backdrop character. And Ray, I think he's like the guy that you probably would want to be involved the most because you could still feel that Aykroyd's passion for it is very alive, and it always reflects in his character. So I feel like they need a tamper if they go forth. The levels that they reintroduce these characters back in, because you got good characters that people want to see, and you don't always like. I think this is what Afterlife did well. It didn't choose to focus on every single character that they introduced. They did what the other Ghostbusters movies did. They focused on the central character with Phoebe, and the other ones. Clearly, it was Peter's character that was leading the charge, and the other characters were just supporting what was going on here. So they have that with Phoebe. Keep doing that, and then these can potentially get even better. So that's a good thing to see that they didn't just throw these characters to the side and go, oh, we got the hooks on the crowd again. Let's bring in these people again. It doesn't muddy up as much as the critics suggest that it does. That these people are there. They really do focus on the family more, and that's good. And they do advance their characters in significant ways. Maybe not so much Trevor. He literally gets the sub B plot, but that's okay. We don't, like I said, he didn't even need that subplot. He could have just been a background character in this movie, and that would have been fine too. But it's cool that I guess we saw Slimer's ass or whatever.
I do think that the skulls are pretty cool looking too. Like
the skulls.
I don't know if they're like. If they did like the practical stuff, but if they didn't, the CGI was obviously trained to look like the puppets. Like the Librarian was very puppet looking. Man, I can't speak today.
Yep, the skulls and the Librarians.
The Slimer looks like an actual, especially when his hand comes out. It looks
clearly that was that. Obviously, the main villain.
Yeah, that's probably the weakest look. I mean, physically looking, I guess. Also, I didn't really think he looked very cool.
Thoughts
are cool.
Thoughts on the villainous entity here, without spoiling too much for anybody that hasn't seen it.
Part of me thinks he's super underdeveloped, but part of me is fine with it. So I didn't mind it.
I think I mean, it's leagues better than Vigo.
It's pretty much like the same kind of like structure to Gozer in the way that it comes in and everything.
I think it doesn't have the amount of fearsome suggestion that Gozer has.
I think that's why it's kind of like...
Yeah, going back to the whole thing that I said, this movie doesn't particularly have any, like, fear-inducing segments like the first one does, and even the second one does. But he is a cool character, and he does get the same style of that. Basically, structurally, this is kind of like part one.
Yeah.
So that's good. But again, that could also give some critics some reason to complain. But it does enough different stuff, and a lot of people were talking leading up to the movie's release about the obvious real Ghostbusters influence, and yeah, it's there, man. I think it's a nice patch between real Ghostbusters and the original movie. It felt like a good version of those elements mixed together, which is cool. Mm-hmm. I think that's cool. By the way, Janine also clearly didn't have to be there. I'm just saying. But it was nice to see her.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, guy?
I'm trying to think. Not really. I enjoyed it quite a bit, actually.
Classic
I'm
silence?
thinking, guy, I'm not quick on my feet anymore. I'm an old man.
I would say that you were never quick on your feet.
I was always quick on my feet.
Were you?
They call me Panther, guy.
Panther?
Goon the Panther Tick was my name.
Man.
I was prowling around in cat suits.
Oh, yeah, I've seen the
cat
suits.
They stunk, dude. They smelled really bad. Good. The butt area wore out really quick. Anyway, I really enjoyed it.
Crawling on your ass.
I'm just saying, I really enjoyed it. I don't know what's up with all these critics.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like Al.
Not to validate Al's claim that they all just wanted... that they're getting revenge for 2016, but, there's definitely, a disconnect. And that's bound to happen. You know what I'm saying? These people... That's their job. They're seeing movies 24/7. They're bound to see more things that frustrate them than not.
Yeah, and I do think that, like you mentioned, there's a lot of stuff in the movie that if you are, like, super into film, you could be like, why didn't they just cut that out? Or why didn't they do this? There is a lot of that, but I thought it was enjoyable enough so that I could just be like, I don't really mind it. Even though I was super noticeable at times, I was like, I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I mean...
It wasn't like annoying like the reboot where it would have stuff where it would be like, why is that in there? And
like
it's actively annoying. Yeah.
It's fine. Like, I'm super into movies. I see that stuff. I actually find it enjoyable to see like how would I change this? Mm-hmm. How would a screenwriter crop this? I find that fascinating. That craft of screenwriting is pretty fascinating, and it's a delicate balance. But also I can be, like you say, completely 100% okay with it not being perfectly honed, because the thing is, it's entertaining.
Yeah,
so
I think
it's okay.
If anything, it kind of speaks to the strengths of the movie that they're in there and doesn't bug you.
Yeah,
like you're still like having fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man, this old boy, far better than we thought. It was not that we were like, all the critics must be right, but mostly because we wanted it to be bad, so Al would like go insane.
He might hate it.
He might hate it. I don't know, but I don't think so. I mean, I think this is... If he hates it, I'm gonna punch him in the fucking balls.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, come on, guy. This is a pretty super fun Ghostbusters effort, and, hopefully they can keep getting better at it and make more of it. And if not, that's okay, too. You know what I'm saying? I think they got a little good record going on there, and especially because Sony's involved. That's surprising. Yeah. So anyway, final score on this flick. Give it to me. Of course, relative to films of its kind, relative to the series. If a Ghostbusters 1 is a 10, which it is, where's this one lay?
I feel like I'm gonna retroactively change my review for Afterlife and give that one like a 5.
You can't change anything until you rewatch it.
I'm gonna give it a 5 because
Your obstinate refusal to rewatch it.
I'm gonna give it a 5 because it belongs in that era, and this one is like a straight 8 for me.
I still invalidate that little
that's on you
extra jab that you threw in there after claiming, by the way, that you were like totally okay with it. But anyway, the point is, Yeah, very entertaining. Ghostbusters effort, flaws and all. Yeah, man. Critics be tripping to be going as hard as they are towards it. Tripping balls. They're entitled to their opinion, of course. Fun to read the opinions, of course. Kind of crazy, I gotta say. Their opinion, the hate
40
it's getting.
something. Come on.
It's a type of review I would expect from Al.
Yeah, like
towards anything, towards Citizen Kane, he would hate.
Yeah, he would be like,
I hate it's a piece of garbage, and I'd be like, Al, what's going on? They were critics.
I hate film.
Yeah, I mean,
Quote
like, come
Al.
on, quote Al, comma student of film. I hate film. Who does that? But
love Titanic though.
that's the type of weird, criticisms this thing is getting, and it's a little rough. You know, the criticisms. The movie itself, super fun, super enjoyable. Look forward to seeing it again. So yeah. I mean, go out and check it out yourself. Tell us what you think if you've already seen it. I do know that one of our constant viewers, Michael Keller, hates the hell out of it. But Michael is prone to be a hater at times.
Yeah, I agree. As a hater myself.
You're a mad hater. Trash hater too.
Nah, homie.
But anyway, let us know what you think about it if you've seen it. In the meantime, we're out.